Good evening on this 19th day of August 2024. I trust your week has started off on a high. Welcome to the Daily Report. I am George Maringa. On sign language interpretation tonight is Catherine Simaloy. It is Monday, and as is the norm, we bring you power and politics. Tonight, we look at the intrigues, especially in the ruling party UDA. We will be having a conversation later on with Maliba Arnold, the head of policy and public affairs in the United Democratic Alliance UDA party. What exactly is going on? And you've also seen the change over for the position of Secretary General in that party. We also interrogate the communications puzzle, especially regarding the activities we've seen, especially on X, formerly Twitter. The spokesperson of the State House clarifying a few issues regarding the projects that the president has been launching. We interrogate tonight, did the president overpromise? Did the UDA party overpromise? And what is it exactly doing about it? Start engaging us on X, formerly Twitter, at TV47 News. You can find me at George Maringa _. Use the hashtag Daily Report. But before then, let's give you a glimpse into what is making headlines tonight. Tonight, businessman Jimi Wanjigi arrested after presenting himself to the detectives.
I am here to face the injustice of a regime that has decided oppression is its way. Yes.
Meru Governor Kawira impeachment trial commences in the Senate as MCAs insist Kawira is unfit to hold office. Also tonight, Uasin Gishu Deputy Governor John Barorot resigns to become CEO in global ICT firm.
We announced the exit of our Deputy Governor, Engineer John Barorot, who has a secured position as a Chief Executive Officer of an international organization in ICT sector.
22047 is our SMS line. Please engage us. We look forward to hearing from you, as well as reading out your questions, comments, or feedback to my guest tonight. Let's begin with our top story, shall we? And the Ministry of Health has downplayed existing cases of Mpox in the country, declaring that the only known case is one of the 42-year-old male in Taita Taveta who has since been healed. This comes after fears emerged of suspected cases in various parts across the country, as Ann Odida now reports.
Just 2 days after a viral photo of a 21-year-old woman working at an avocado farm in Kenol, Kiambu County sparked rumors of an Mpox outbreak, the Ministry of Health has shut down the claim, stating there is no active Mpox case in the country.
We had suspected cases, as has been informed, and the test has been done, so we're waiting for the turnaround time to confirm. But so far, we only have that one case that has recovered.
This comes at a time when surveillance has been heightened in the country following a declaration by the Africa Center for Disease Control, CDC, and the World Health Organization declaring Mpox a continental threat.
We have upped our diagnostic capacity. Remember, the platform used for testing Mpox is the same platform that was used for COVID-19. It's called PCR, polymerase chain reaction. For now, we have dedicated 4 laboratories to be able to do this testing, but we have redundant capacity of more than 100 laboratories if there's need to be able to call for additional laboratory support.
Regarding vaccines to combat the Mpox virus, the Ministry of Health has indicated that Kenya is expecting around 2 million doses, with high-risk areas first in line.
As a continent, we require 10 million doses of vaccines. We are assured by the Nordic manufacturer of the vaccine that by the end of the year we can be able to have about 2 million doses. But the vaccine will not be for everybody because of the scarcity in terms of the availability of the vaccines.
On Wednesday last week, CDC revealed that a total of 2,863 cases of Mpox have been reported in 2024 in 13 African countries, with 517 fatalities. In Kenya, the strain detected has been linked to the highly infectious strain called Clade 1B, which is mostly spread sexually.
The primary risk in contact with an infected person or contaminated personal items or through sexual contact is the common secondary infection that would occur in our country.
Kenya's first Mpox case was reported on July 31st, 2024 and was swiftly contained. The patient has fully recovered and currently 26 samples are under investigation, with 10 already sent for testing. Results are expected within the next 5 to 14 days. Ann Odida, TV47.
Thank you, Anne. Businessman Jimi Wanjigi was on Monday arrested after he presented himself for grilling at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. It is, however, unclear what charges he will face in court tomorrow. According to the detectives privy to his arrest, detectives are also probing his alleged possession of tear gas canisters at his Muthaiga home in Nairobi.
Stop it.
A series of events unfolded after Jimi Wanjigi presented himself at the regional police headquarters in Nairobi.
Do not order me, do not touch me.
Which quickly escalated from a formal sleuth summon to a muddled showdown.
Have respect. I will go in at my own time.
Faced with grave allegations that he funded the Nane Nane protest and that weapons from a vehicle were discovered at his residence, allegations that Wanjigi has vehemently denied.
They said that they found a car outside my residence.
Okay.
They said they have found a car outside my residence that has got items they want to question me about. I'm waiting to hear what that is about. I am here to face the injustice of a regime that has decided oppression is its way.
Yes.
We are going to hear why they have summoned me, and if you give me a few minutes, I'll be back right here to tell you what they are trying to do.
Hours later, police vehicles emerged from the station in a state of confusion, leaving Wanjigi's lead lawyers led by Senior Counsel John Kaminywa at crossroads.
One senior investigator just came and said to us that, look, we are taking Wanjigi to court tomorrow and we are putting him in custody. I asked him whether he should not give him bail. He said bail is out. To me, who has been at the law for a long time, what is happening is despicable. That is not the way justice should be administered at all.
Wanjigi had moved to court where he obtained an order stopping his arrest. The court on August 16th extended the order stopping the police from arresting him. Justice Bahati Mwamuye extended the order to September 19th, but at the same time said he could not issue an order stopping any registration of a charge sheet against Wanjigi. The series of events from the Nane Nane protest have led to Jimi Wanjigi being summoned to the DCI regional headquarters, where he will be arraigned in court tomorrow for further hearing. Marsden Ombugu for TV47.
Thank you, Marsden. Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza has this morning dismissed 3 charges presented to her, including gross violation of the Constitution and other laws, gross misconduct and abuse of office. The sponsor of the impeachment motion, Zipporah Kenywa, in her appearance, said a section of Meru County Assembly members received threats occasioned by her move to impeach Governor Kawira Mwangaza. Mike Kagwongo with the details.
Video 7 of the County Assembly transcribed.
For the third time, the embattled Meru Governor Kawira Mwangaza was a woman under siege.
The respective secretariats of the said boards.
The Meru County Chief was once again here to tackle serious allegations leveled against her. The Meru County Assembly is hitting Mwangaza with 3 heavy charges, including gross violation of the Constitution and laws, misconduct and abuse of office. They are also slamming her for following her staff to a staggering 111, driving up the wage bill by over 500 million shillings, an outrageous 49% of the county's annual revenue, smashing the 35% limit.
It is the board's considered opinion that your letter dated 8th March 2024 to Ms. Virginia Kawira Mireti revoking her appointment as the Secretary/CEO of the Meru County Public Service Board is not legally binding as the officer is duly appointed as per the existing laws.
Impeachment sponsor Zipporah Kenywa claimed some assembly members faced threats over her move to oust Mwangaza. The MCA continued with her thriller, stating that on the day the motion was discussed, there was an attempt to set fire to the assembly.
The threats were given by some members of the public, and I believe we have some videos. We have some videos that can show that.
Mwangaza's legal team, led by Elias Mutuma, labeled the accusations as a pack of lies and urged the Senate to dismiss the impeachment motion outright.
And when we look at them in the eye and tell them it's a lie, they get bitter. They get mad. They accuse senators of being bribed. They accuse the governor because they want us to believe a lie, because they have themselves created a lie and believed in a lie.
It's a case of making sure that systems clogs to the benefit of few individuals. That is the simplicity of our case, Honorable Governors. We'll present you with evidence. Concrete evidence, Honorable Senators.
Tuesday, the embattled governor will get her chance to defend herself before the Senate makes its verdict on whether to stay the impeachment or save her for the third time. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Mike. And indeed, the Senate is still in session and has taken a 5-minute break to await a certain document to be availed by the Council for the County Assembly. We continue monitoring that impeachment proceedings for you. Tonight, police officers in Magarini Sub-County, Kilifi County are investigating an incident in which a 25-year-old man murdered his 80-year-old father before being subjected to a similar fate by irate members of the public on Monday morning. As reported by James Gishige, the police confirmed the incident, warning that those found culpable will be dealt with in accordance with the law.
An 80-year-old father and his 25-year-old son, Ismail Karisa Mwaiha, are at the center of a shocking crime. It all started when the father refused Ismail's request to harvest mangoes. In a violent outburst, Ismail attacked his father with a machete, resulting in his death. Upon discovering the brutal attack, family members sounded the alarm and an enraged mob of neighbors quickly descended upon Ismail.
Pigiwa simu hivi asubuhi ni kwa Gongoni kwenye naishi, kaambiwa niende nyumbani kwa sababu babangu ameuliwa na mdogo wangu. Nilipofika pale nikataka kujua muhimu chenye kime happen mpaka akaua mzee ni nini. Nimeambiwa mzee ametoka shambani kumuuliza, kumhoji kwa nini unaangusha matunda nyumbani, maembe. Mbona unaangusha maembe unaenda unauza kwa nini? Hivyo tu na akampokonya panga mzee akamkatakata akamuua.
They captured him and brutally killed him with crude weapons. Kilifi County Police Commander Fatuma Hadi has confirmed the horrific events and stated that an investigation is underway to determine the full details of these murders.
Walipofika pale mobu kwenda kunini pale, mobu pia wakamuua. Ashaifungwa, kusumbwana na mzee, tukampeleka polisi akafungwa miezi 8, akatoka tena akarudia hiyo jambo hilo, tukamrudisha tena polisi akafungwa miezi 6, akatoka, sasa ndo amefanya hiyo.
James Gishigi, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you for that. The Deputy Governor of Uasin Gishu County, Engineer John Bororot, has today officially announced his resignation from public service, a position he has held for the past 3 years. Now, as reported by Quinto Wafula, this move follows a period of speculation about his whereabouts after missing several important events, such as the ceremony to elevate Eldoret to city status last Thursday. Take a look.
Monday marked the end of an era of Uasin Gishu Deputy Governor, whom since ascending to the office has had a protracted political battle with his boss. Today at the Eka Hotel in Eldoret, Bororot announced his resignation, stressing it's a strategic move to boost his career after 3 years of public service.
I've weighed between the current responsibility that I have together with the ongoing international digital transformation. There is a digital transformation going on globally.
He thanked county residents and called on local leaders to step up and make Eldoret, Kenya's 5th city, thrive even more.
There is still more to be done. We become a city now. I said it here a few weeks ago, and I want to, as we take this challenge of becoming a city, it's not an event.
Engineer John Baroro's resignation comes after months of rumors and visible tensions with county leaders, evidenced by his absence from key functions. In his speech, Barorot denied any feuds, clarifying that their relations remain amicable.
To really get back into the industry that I've been for many, many years. I've enjoyed my being in public service. It's an amazing, it was an amazing journey.
Uasin Gishu Governor Jonathan B., who shared the stage with Barorot, commended his deputy on the new role and promised to announce his replacement as soon as possible.
Vacant from September 1st, 2024, I will nominate a replacement within, actually, as soon as we are done. It will not take long.
Quinto Wofula, TV47.
Thank you, Quinto. The Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, has fired back at Azimio leaders doubting Raila Odinga's loyalty to the opposition. On Monday, ODM chairperson Gladys Wanga slammed those questioning Raila, accusing them of using ODM members appointed by President William Ruto to infiltrate his cabinet. Wanga emphasized that these members have been released and are serving in their own right. The Orange Democratic Party made it clear that no one will coerce Raila into endorsing them for Azimio's leadership.
This is even better. We are here as a party to express serious misgivings about utterances by some of our partners in the Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party, who have attempted to question the place of ODM and its commitment to playing its role as an opposition party. There is no agreement between ODM and Kenya Kwanza that makes the two joint partners in government. We have no coalition agreement with the Kenya Kwanza government as ODM. In response to a national emergency and the need to steady the nation, ODM agreed to release in their individual capacities the members who have been tapped by the president. These are former deputy party leaders, Ali Hassan Joho, Wycliffe Oparanya, the former national chairman, John Badi, and the former secretary for political affairs, Honorable James Opio Wandai, and former member of the National Elections Coordinating Committee, Ms. Beatrice Askul. The party leader has explained, and we reiterate, that these members have not joined the government as representatives of the party, but as individuals whom the president felt have the capacity to add value to his administration and help the country achieve the desired goals. ODM will continue to play its minority role alongside other parties to push for accountability, transparency, equity, and delivery of services to the people in a cost-effective manner.
ODM cannot and shall never be intimidated. We are a party that stands for justice, democracy, and a party that has fought for against the ills committed towards Kenyans for many years.
Still on matters ODM, Kakamega County ODM leaders have slammed former Shinyalu MP Justice Kizito for claiming to be the ODM chair. Speaking in Lurambi, delegates rejected Kizito's claims, pointing out that he ran on a DAPK ticket in the last election. Lurambi ODM chair Habib Anyolo questioned Kizito's loyalty, accusing him of party hopping and asserting that Kakamega Governor Fernandez Barasa is the legitimate county chair. Navaholo ODM chair Rogers Wahisi backed this stance, dismissing any talk of a leadership vacuum.
We have had a consultation as a party under the leadership of our county chair, His Excellency Honorable FCPA Fernandez Barasa. As a result of this consultation, we wish to make clear our position on a number of issues in respect to the recent development in the party. We wish to express our concern following the recent outrageous claims by one Honorable Kizito Mugali that he is the chairman of ODM in Kakamega County. We want to take this earliest opportunity to remind him that he vied for Member of Parliament in Shinyalu constituency in the year 2022 general election on ADAP K.
Nasema ni kwamba hata kama wewe ulikuwa kwa chama na anafikiria anaweza rudi kwa chama, sisi tutamkaribisha. Ingawaje tumekuwa na mazoea ya kwamba akiona kuna serikali inaenda mahali inafanya kazi. Kama saa hii mnajua chama cha ODM wakati wamekuwa wakichukua the best, ameona kwamba Raila Amolo Odinga amekuwa karibu na president, wamechukua one of our best kutoka Kakamega. His Excellence Emeritus Wycliffe Ambeso Oparanya ameweka kwa serikali. Ameanza kuona, sababu tumekuwa ni mazoea yake kwamba akiona serikali nyingine anaanza kufomiwa, anaanza kuwa na madhumuni na mawazo kwamba aweze kujoin hiyo chama ili naye akaweze kuchukuliwa.
Tonight, a tragic road accident in Konambaya, Mulatewa, Mount Elgon constituency has left one person dead and 3 others receiving treatment at Bungoma Referral Hospital. Residents are urgently demanding that Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki steps in and provide a police vehicle, citing that they have been forced to transport corpses on motorcycles due to the lack of proper transportation. Wanji Sostin reports.
At Konambaya, along Cheptais Cheskaki Road in Mount Elgon constituency, those who witnessed the horror say that the motorcycle rider lost control and fell into the ditch. The 4 on board are said to have been headed to Chwele from Cheptais.
Huyu jamaa ni kama ni mgeni huku. Alipokuwa akiteremka na pikipiki yake ni kama ilipata pancha na ilikuwa kwa mteremko na alikuwa kwa hali ya speed. So kwa hiyo hali hiyo ikawarusha kwa mtaro na wakaumia na tukawasaidia wakafika hospitali.
Residents are furious, denouncing the frequent accidents along this perilous stretch. They are now demanding immediate action from authorities to address the crisis.
Watu wengi tumewapoteza hapa Cheskaki kwa iko na mbaya. Angalia pasi ilianguka ni pale tu.
So wacha na wakatengeneza ile barabara kwa sababu watu wanapoteza maisha yao. Watu wanaangamia kwa ile barabara. Mtoto wangu Jaden alipotezea pale maisha pale penyewe. So imekuwa ni mahali ambapo si mahali pazuri, ni mahali pabaya.
Tunataka irekebishwe, iwekwe straight. Watoe hiyo kitu ambayo inaitwa kona mbaya kwa sababu imebadilisha maisha yamekuwa mabaya. Kona mbaya imeua watu. Hatutaki hiyo kona mbaya, tunataka tukue na barabara ambayo iko straight.
They have however complained about lack of a car at the Cheskaki police station, where police officers have to wait for a long time to get a car from the neighboring police station, or they have to use a motorcycle for an emergency.
Boda wanaweza pepa namna gani mtu mwenye amekufa na katika ili wapeleke kwa zahanati. Tafadhali bwana Kithure Kindiki, tunataka gari kwa police station ya Cheskaki police station. Na pia tunataka ambulance katika hii health center ya Cheskaki.
Kwani sisi tuko Kenya gani? Police station zingine ziko na magari na sisi why? Hata wakishika mwizi lazima waombe gari kutoka Cheptais ndio kuja isaidie.
Wanji Sostin, TV47, Bungoma.
Residents of Konasi on the Kericho-Kisumu highway are gripped by fear as massive snakes invade their community. With the danger escalating, they are urgently calling on the Kenya Wildlife Service for help in capturing the snakes that have proved a menace. Isaac Famba now reports.
Konasi turned into a bustling tourist hotspot on Monday as crowd flocked to witness a rare spectacle of a giant snake spotted nearby the edge of a sprawling tea plantation. Lately, locals have been on edge as snakes have been spotted in the nearby forest, forcing locals to stay alert.
Nyoka iko hapa karibu 3 ama 4. Hii sio moja. Mimi mwenyewe nimeconfirm, nimeenda mpaka huko chini nimeona mpaka tumeona shimo yenye inaingia. Hii sio nyoka ya normal.
The drama unfolded right on this road where a snake perched on a tree turned into impromptu show for drivers and passers-by.
Hii nyoka ni hatari sana kwa watoto. Hata wakina mama wenye wanaenda huko kuchota maji ni hatari sana. Tumeona tuko kwa hatarini, especially tukifika jioni, ikifika jioni. Tunaona ni hatari sana sababu tunaenda jioni hatujui kama hiyo nyoka imetokezea ama bado. Imekuwa ni hatari kwa sisi.
Unajua hapa kila mtu anakuja, kuna mtoni huko. Hapa kuna watu wanakata nyasi na kuna njia. So unaona inaweza kuwa riski kwa ng'ombe, watoto na watoto mpaka watembea hapa chini. Kuna watu wanakata nyasi huko na kuna barabara tena hapa.
This unsettling scene has raised alarm, especially since the nearby river is a crucial water source for the community.
Wetu sasa tunalilia wale wa wildlife wakuja wachukue hatua kuchukua hii nyoka sababu imekuwa tunasikia sasa tuko hatarini, hatuko safe, tuko hatarini kabisa sababu tukipita hapa jioni tunakuja hapa market kuuza vitu vyetu, tukirudi jioni tunaokopa kuvuka hii mto.
Serikali wafanye namna wakuche waondoe hii kitu kwa sababu watu hapa tena hawafanyi kazi, hawana tumaini wa kukaa hapa tena, hawana amani. So tuombe serikali watume KTBLS wakuche watoe hii kitu hapa.
Locals are urgently calling on the Wildlife Service KWS to step in and remove the venomous reptile. Isaac Famba, TV47.
Now, the possibility of a finance bill comeback is causing an uproar on and offline after Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi stated unequivocally that forging the fiscal bill was absolutely necessary. Among the things raising the hackles of the masses was the return of the contentious eco-levy clause. Here is what Kenyans and industry representatives had to say about the bill.
After weeks of unrest, finally a light at the end of the tunnel seemed to emerge as the new set of cabinet secretaries took oath of office. But now it seems things are simmering slowly back to a protest.
Asije akawekelea Wakenya mzigo kwa hata ukiangalia vile alikuwa anasema akiwa huko opposition, sio vile anasema akiwa ndani ya serikali. Yeye ajaribu kutafuta method. Pesa 375 billions, hata kama si, unajua si ya kukula, ati utalala ukiwa na njaa. Kama ni barabara, wachana na hiyo barabara wakati huu, itajengwa wakati mwingine.
As the crescendo rises on social media of a mass dissent of such plans.
Tafadhali angalia hawa watu sana, maana hawa watu wengi hawakuwa wameamini na manifesto ya Kenya Kwanza. Kwa hivyo wataleta tu mgogoro mwingine katika wananchi ama katika nchi yetu, maana Wakenya wakisema hawataki hii isirudishwe nasema. Na tunamwambia tafadhali washa kurudisha hiyo finance bill, maana watu hawatafurahia na Wakenya hawajafurahi.
In different counties, the tune is the same. Many residents already cornered by high bills and little spending power believe a new finance bill would strain them to absolute destitution.
Kuna pesa zake atachimba kwa mtaro, alete kwa wajiko, ama ni zile tu atatoa kwa mifuko ya wajiko ama wagio. Kwa hivyo sisi kama Wakenya asituhadae kamwe tumekataa kata.
Why are we keeping on repeating on the same thing? I usually ask myself in Kenya, are we addicted to criminology? If we are introducing this thing again, the parliament of this country, even those people involved and the judiciary and all those people, let's ask ourselves, what are we doing and what are we going to achieve through the introduction of this finance bill 2024.
Among the 49 possible new tax policies is the eco-levy clause. The Kenya Association of Manufacturers, one of the first industry representatives to point out the possible repercussions in the formerly done away with bill, had chosen to reserve its comments until the proposed bill comes to the floor of Parliament. But until then, the feared bill hangs like a noose above the public's head, who grow more weary as times toughen. Mpox for TV47.
Sports news brought to you.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips. And the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Very 8 minutes past the hour. We thank you for staying with the Daily Report. Time now for the conversation on power and politics. Tonight we speak to Arnold Maliba. He is the head of policy and public affairs in the UDA party, United Democratic Alliance. Thank you so much for joining us, Arnold.
Thank you.
And karibu to your debut on Monday's Daily Report.
Thank you for having me.
Indeed.
Yeah.
How united is the United Democratic Alliance?
UDA, or the United Democratic Alliance Party, is as united as the word united could go. If you were to define united, I think, and then you are to give an example, you will have to talk about UDA. Yeah.
At the manifesto, you presented quite a united front.
Yes.
And these squabbles that we've seen, especially over the leadership of that party,
yeah.
Were they anticipated? Are they organic? Is it, would you say it's an exercise of democracy?
You know, UDA has got a D in it. That D is not silent. It's not there as a decoration. The Democratic Party in UDA is actually practical, it's utilitarian, and it's actually in practice. So you do not expect UDA to function as a theocracy. Even in a theocracy, God, for example, as a practicing Christian, I'll tell you that God speaks about come, let us reason together.
Yes.
So there will still be dialogue even in a theocracy. So in a democracy, you expect the voices, the noises you hear, those are deliberations. Even constitutionally, we talk about public participation. That participation is not meant to be friendly. It's not meant not to have noise. So anything that you see out there is a manifestation of the D in UDA. Yeah.
Why was the former Secretary General ousted? What was the real reason behind it?
I think the National Executive Committee sat. They give reasons as to why they thought that decision was important at that particular point. The former SG, of course, has his contentions. He's gone before the Internal Disputes Resolutions Committee, the IDRC, UDA's IDRC. I think he will be heard on that particular end, and whatever issues he has will actually be addressed on that end. Like I told you, in UDA, D is not silent.
D is not silent.
Yes.
In terms of this coalition, this party that is of course the ruling party, along with it is the modern day unity with other parties,
yes,
as has been argued,
yes,
and it's now broad-based.
Yes.
When you look at the thought process of this, there is the actuality and then there is the spirit behind it.
Yes.
Whereas you've seen that the ODM party has come out to say that it's not working with government, what exactly do you think is the feeling of the followers who elected UDA in a majority, as claimed in the past, and said, we want a party that does not, quote unquote, seem to be in dalliance with the opposition? But that's what pretty much the UDA party has done. Where are we with this broad-based government?
First of all, we have a constitution that all of us are there to. Today, there is no one who is part and parcel of the executive, for example, who is a member of a party that is, first of all, to be a cabinet secretary, for example, because that's where this question is leading to. In the cabinet, you cannot be a member of the cabinet if you are a member of a party. So all cabinet secretaries have, as of law, they have to depoliticize themselves before they become cabinet secretaries. I'll give you an example. The former leader of the ANC party, the Amani National Congress, for example, all of us knew him as the leader of ANC, but he had to step aside from that particular role so that he takes up a national state role. So literally everybody who is part and parcel of the cabinet thus far has complied to that end. So there is no ODM in the cabinet. And the people in the cabinet, all of them, including those who you would say, for example, were in UDA, are not members of UDA. They serve in a government that is UDA sponsored, but they are not members of UDA until they actually step out, because the role they actually handle expect them to actually not carry the bias and the shades of political parties. So if a few people have actually left the parties they used to be, they have got a right to be in government, for example. ODM as a party, for example, and really it's important for us to put this out. Mbadi is not ODM. Even if you were to put Mbadi plus Wandai, that is not ODM. ODM has got about 3.5 million members. Even if you were to bring in who else has come from that particular front? Joho. Still, that is not ODM. Paranya. That is not ODM. ODM is the collectivity of about 3.5 million registered members. So the argument that we having a few people, when the president spoke about broad-based, is that he will reach out to other spaces where Kenyans will feel like they're part and parcel of this particular process. Yeah. And Oparanya, as an individual, has a right to be in this government. He has not offended any constitution by leaving ODM, resigning and joining government. He has not offended any law. Yeah. So first and foremost, I know we are opposed with this concept. We are so, not opposed, but obsessed to this concept that opposition and then there is government. We, the people of Kenya, 67% of us went to a national plebiscite, voted, and chose the new constitution. The new constitution gave parliament, both at the three levels of what I would call the legislature. We've got a three level. We've got the Senate, we've got the National Assembly, and then we've got the county assemblies. We gave that the oversight role to parliament. And then we gave somebody called the minority leader to take care of that. So, playing oppositionist politics is not a preserve of a certain group out there, but it's been given to the legislature to play that particular role.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter whether you are elected on UDA, so long as you're in parliament. The role of oversight is your business.
So it's okay. You've said, it's bestowed on the minority,
Yes.
and then you go ahead as a party to pick the immediate leader of minority in the National Assembly.
We did not pick the minority. We picked John Mbadi, the person. The position of minority...
Opiyo Wandayi.
Opiyo Wandayi, for example,
the leader of minority.
Is not. You cannot synonymize the leader of minority to the person of Opiyo Wandayi. That is given. It's an office that is established in law. It's not established in Ugunja. So it's not Opiyo Wandayi's birthright, for example. So even if Opiyo Wandayi had not joined government, for example, and anything happened to him, even if he was still in ODM and ODM thought otherwise, they would still have, or Azimio would have actually have removed him. So Opiyo Wandayi is not the same as the leader of minority. The leader of minority in the National Assembly is a position created by the Constitution of Kenya.
So people have argued, Kenyans have argued, this is a discussion that as UD you're having, but in terms of actuality, if you look at it, Arnold, honestly, so how is the former leader of minority supposed to then defend and speak for the government in the docket that he's now been appointed to?
Who appointed or what framework made Opiyo Wandayi the leader of minority? The Constitution, right?
Yes.
It is a constitutional office, right? Since it exists in law, we need to actually separate Opiyo Wandayi, the person, Opiyo Wandayi, the leader, from Azimio. And by the way, Azimio could pick anyone, including from Wiper, for example, and put in that particular office. Opiyo Wandayi is not the leader of minority. Those are two different personalities. He was an occupant of a constitutional office and not one and the same. The people of Ugunja did not elect the leader of minority. They elected their member of parliament. Then Azimio thought of it that he would actually make sense to that. So Opiyo Wandayi, the person, does he have a right to actually change his mind politically? Yes, he does. Is he allowed, according to law, to actually contribute to the development of the country? Is he allowed to participate in the management of public affairs? However way he actually chooses? Yes, he does. No offending the Constitution. We actually, I really don't think, Maringa, if this is a hill we've chosen to die on, do we really want to die on this hill? Because constitutionally, there has not been an offense to that. Of course, there is what you people call the spirit.
Yes.
But you know this spirit, who has got the spiritometer? That somehow if Opiyo Wandayi leaves ODM, then that is ODM.
The people that put you in power have the spiritometer.
ODM
yes.
has actually spoken, right? They've spoken about their position. Now, I would just like to ask you, why are we forcing, ODM has actually come out. This is the horse itself, right? So we are hearing from the horse mouth. But we are still doubting that that is not the horse speaking. So exactly where do
remember this is a population, these are people who have also discovered and recently got hold of Article 1 and they're exercising their sovereign power.
They've always had it.
Yes. No, but vehemently and loudly so. In the recent months.
Our politics is very noisy. What we saw out here was a people exercising their rights as they've always done. There was, of course, an injection of new blood to it, but literally our politics has been noisy. It's not been smooth sailing. Anyone standing outside our house as a country would actually think that the house is burning, but that is how we do our politics. So I still do not think that the people who were in the streets, for example, will really have a big problem with Opiyo Wandayi or Mbadi being on this other side. All they were asking for is action. And that is what we're trying to put up, a team that can actually deliver that. If you realize a lot of those young people who went out there, they really are not asking for much. They're simply asking for accountability. They are asking for output. So that hatutaki story, tunataka matendo.
Do you think then that as a party, as your party leader, the president, went ahead to fulfill that, owing to the fact that what we've seen the conversations of these young people, you've had the opportunity to interact with them, do you think that he fulfilled, he checked those boxes?
Today, for example, we were hosting Gen Zs in the office.
Okay.
We had the leadership of university students who paid as a courtesy call at the office. Okay. We had a very long discussion with them. We listened to them. But be that as it may, I do not think that the people who went to the street specifically to dictate to the leadership of the country to do as they wish. Because first of all, you must also appreciate that the leadership we have has got agency to make decisions that are right, both for themselves and for the country. Secondly, you must also appreciate that UDA, Kenya Kwanza, is as patriotic as the people that went to the streets, and that they have got a desire not just to achieve for UDA's manifesto, but to also achieve for the people of Kenya. Because there is no UDA, there is no Kenya Kwanza without the Kenya and the people of Kenya. So it's not that the people who went to the streets have a monopoly of ideas, for example. It's not that they have got a monopoly on the thought processes that inform the management of public affairs. So they made proposals. The president actually listened. I actually have seen a Nigerian comedian who actually was making fun of Kenya. Was talking about how countries in Africa performed during the Olympics. And he counted all of them. And then when he got to Kenya, which was number one, he then said the Depression Republic of Kenya. And then, of course, Kenyans were not so happy. So they asked him, why did he call our country the Depression Republic of Kenya? And then he said that, of course, that is his interpretation of what has happened here. He said, you guys have depressed the president until he fired the whole cabinet. He's made so much changes. What is that if it's not depression? That was his interpretation.
Of depression, yes.
So, did the president listen to the young people who went out there and everybody who went out? Yes, he did. He recalled the finance bill. Remember, that was the clarion call.
Which is about to make a comeback.
Still, that is a requirement of law that we must have a finance law in place. That when the reason why we have got people looking for votes, the reason why people go out to be elected is for a simple rule, so that they can apply their thinking, their skill set, their experiences and competencies to public policy. So Kenya Kwanza has got what it promised Kenyans, and they were elected upon that particular promise. That is what is actually manifested in the plan. As per the plan, there are things we promised, and we have not changed that. We actually have to deliver that. Secondly, there are economic realities. There's a background that is the economic situation that we have as a country. So we should not demonize this thing called the finance bill as if it's not supposed to exist in law. There are also our realities. There's the situation we are in as a country. So when you get to that particular place, you have to abide by that. Today, we are, of course, surviving without that law, but that does not mean that we don't require it. We require it because if we go for the next 3 months, for example, without a substantive finance law in place, remember our budget is actually legislated. So if we can actually continue into the process of running a budget without having a substantive law to it, we will run into challenges again with the Auditor General. And that again will be another reason for people to go out in the streets and lynch us. So we have to abide by that.
It is how convenient, the party chooses to listen to the Auditor General, but then on such an issue, saying you'll run into problems with the Auditor General, but then when the Auditor General flags some expenditure, and in her reports, the party, UDA doesn't seem to have so much hue and cry about it.
I do not know. Again, I will use this word.
Yes.
Do you have a meter, a simometer? It's that UDA does not seem to listen to the Auditor General. Why do we have to follow and abide by the law? The laws that we've given to ourselves are not suggestions. the institutions that the people of Kenya, and I said 67% of them went to vote in 2010. I think we will be talking about 14 years.
Yes.
Should be 14 years this year when we send, should be on 27th, right?
Yes.
Of August, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes, next week.
Yes. That should be the Katiba Day. So 67% of Kenyans went out and endorsed these laws, including putting up institutions like the Auditor General. The Auditor General's office is actually an appendage of Parliament if you were to draw a national organogram, a national leadership organogram. So we do not seem not to follow what the Auditor General does. Whether we like what she says or not, that is none of the business of the Constitution. As in, it doesn't matter whether we like it or not. We have to abide by that. We have to fulfill the requirements and the dictates of the law. So if we do not then have the laws in place, we will actually be running an illegal expenditure. That will definitely put us in problems. And like I said, with the Auditor General, with all other oversight agencies, including Kenyans. Yeah, because Kenyans are actually the apex of everything else. We will have to abide by that. How do we raise resources? Our situation has changed. The way it was in 2022 is not the same way it is today. We've got national obligations to meet. And one of those obligations is actually to abide by the laws and the rules we gave ourselves. Yeah, so I don't know why, and I'm afraid, you know, Maringa, I think it will be fair for us when we go out executing this particular agenda on the finance bill, let us not demonize it. Because how are we going to raise money? How are we going to run the nation? It's easy, by the way, for us to go out there and lynch these processes. After we've lynched those processes, how then do we proceed? And people will tell you, it doesn't matter how we proceed, just push it. And then when we get to the cliff, somehow something will give in. That's not how leadership, there is a lack of leadership. It's a lack of foresight, because we keep on running this direction, and then we don't want to actually talk about tomorrow. Really, then we do not deserve to call ourselves leaders. We must actually tell you this is the direction. The basic definition of leadership is a guide, is somebody showing direction. And we have not surrendered that particular position. Kenyans spoke to us and told us we need a different way of looking at things. We've gone back, we've listened to that. So until we look at the new draft of the finance bill, it will be too early to demonize it. Again, if we are going to throw out everything that there are quite a number of things that were quite progressive. Two, let me tell you, the topic on taxation, the taxation policy is one thing that is not good to study. Even the guys who study the law on taxation, it's not something that is so good. So let's not lie to ourselves that anyone loves to be taxed, for example, including myself. If I had an opportunity, ways and means to actually run away from taxes, definitely, George, I will run away.
So when President Ruto was talking about, you know, the broad-based government after appointing the CSs, he said he doesn't want to be the only one called Zakayo.
Yes.
And, you know, the load of Zakayo to be carried by everyone else.
Yes.
When you look at how this process has been, especially, you know, the promises by the same president, he said that in the previous administration when he was deputy, there was an infiltration by ODM at the time, by NASA at the time, then that the Jubilee administration did not fulfill its promises that it had made to Kenyans, right?
Yes.
So are we foreseeing, will we then look at a position or a situation where perhaps there will be talk of we included other people in government, and that is why, quote unquote, we have failed?
First of all, the president saying that the title Zakayo should be shared by everybody so that all of us become Zakayo is simply speaking to the motto by KRA. KRA's motto is so simple, tulipe ushuru tujitegemee. So, but then the characterization of how we do tax or how we raise revenue had, in the last about 20 months, had been made to actually look like they are in the business, those in the executive are in the business of taxing Kenyans. So, and of course we went into the holy book, picked that character, forgetting that even when Jesus was actually, when Zacchaeus actually went out to look for Jesus, he wanted forgiveness from, not that it changed. And of course, Jesus told Zacchaeus, calm down, I will go and eat in your house. So Probably that's what has happened, that all of us have come down. Now we actually are going to sit together and eat. And I'll put it in Swahili, probably it will make much more sense. Jesus said, Zakayo shuka chini. Today, leo lazima nile nyumbani mwako. So, here, all of us have been invited. We said Zakayo ashuke, fine. After that, now we have invited everybody together. Now we are going to actually sit down and do this business together. Do you think what Jesus was eating in Zakayo's house was not part and parcel of the taxes?
Oh, you mentioned Zakayo. Alishuka? Did Alishuka huku Kenya?
Is the finance bill still the same?
But it's coming back. The eco levy is about to come back, surely. Do we still have the
same cabinet as it were?
The same cabinet, but has still caused uproar, and Gen Z have said you did not quite follow what they wanted.
There's not going to be a day, George, there's not going to be a day when you make a public decision that cuts across and everybody claps. On the day you do that, you need to resign.
But the noises are more than the applause, if you look at it.
Using what metrics? We're using what metrics? Social media?
Have you seen the memoranda that was perhaps submitted?
How
during
many
the
are
vetting?
they?
It was quite a number, Arnold.
Look at this. You said it's quite a number. If you can't quantify it, then we should not actually have a quantitative discussion on this. It's qualitative, so let's keep it that way. That is quite a number. But there's also quite a number of people who did not have a problem with the cabinet as it were. There was quite a number of people. Like, for example, we are a nation of about 55 million people, right? Generally, if you were to quantify the number of guys that went to the streets, probably we had about 100,000 people at different times showing up in different places. Would that, for example, be representative of about the 24 million adults in this country, 24, 25 million people in this particular country?
It's a percentage.
It's a percentage, yes, but 100,000 people, for example. But the president listened to it because public sentiment is important. Two, if honestly Kenya Kwanza were to sit down and tell people, we will run this country by way of social media sentiment, we will not have a country.
They've already said we don't have a country here.
We have a country, and that is why you can actually go out and demonstrate. Yes. What are you demonstrating? You are in a country. We are in a country that allows you to do that. There are other places where you can't even do that. That we're even having this discussion means we have a country. And I would love to appeal to the patriotic sense of everybody else. Please, you are allowed to have a problem with the administration of the day and the leadership of the day, but do not desecrate the holy ground that is the country that we have. Don't desecrate on Kenya. If you have a problem with UDA and Kenya Kwanza, please do, by all means, you are allowed. But there is that holy ground that we all stand on. And I'll use these words that are a little bit qualitative. It's a holy ground that we stand on. And this is Kenya. Say anything you want about the leadership we have. Say anything about UDA. But a lot of times, let us not pull down our country.
Our country. Yes. Indeed. Let's take a commercial break right here on the Daily Report. We'll be back with Arnold Maliba. I can see your questions. Edwin, you've sent in your questions, as well as Julius. Emmanuel will be fronting them to Arnold, as well as on our SMS line 22047. Our WhatsApp number is already on the screen. You can go ahead and send in your questions as well. We'll also be forwarding those questions and also having a deeper conversation on the way forward. Do stay with us.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in? I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're watching the Daily Report. You're still with Arnold Maliba. He is Head of Policy and Public Affairs at UDA, the United Democratic Alliance Party. Arnold, some questions here. Edwin Austin asks, kindly share with us 5 key achievements of the Kenya Kwanza government 2 years into office.
5 key achievements. First of all, we promised Hustler Fund that we actually delivered. We promised a remodeled funding system for higher education that we actually have achieved. We promised to bring in the new the CBC when it actually had become a little bit of a problem. We onboarded that particular element. We promised to do away with subsidies that we actually achieved. And then, of course, we promised to ensure that we have got an all-inclusive government. And you can actually see that at different points, even before this particular level, that for me, and you know, governance is an important thing. That's the reason why people wake up to vote. We actually have largely achieved that. So there's so much that we've actually done. We also promised to widen the tax net. We did. We have not deepened, we've only widened. We might not have communicated that so well, but we promised to widen, bring in as many people as possible in the tax net, and that we actually have done effectively well. You need to look at some of the revenues we've actually, the projections on some specific streams, specifically on Kenyans who actually are coming out to actually pay taxes, that we actually have done fairly well. So look at how we have actually balanced. We promised to stop the runaway debts for taking debt for overheads, for basic overheads, that we also have stopped. So we've balanced out quite a lot. There's been so much out there, and you can actually look at the programs. I think I've actually exceeded the 5 that he actually asked. Those were just top of my head. Yeah.
Edwin, you have your answer right there. Maliba, be honest, Emmanuel Naibe from Bondeni Gitale.
Yes.
Maliba, be honest, this kind of people are the ones misleading Kenyans. The truth is Ruto's ship was sinking in all directions. Ruto Ruto sought support of Raila, not willingly, but to save himself from Kenya-wide demos. You can't give two deputy ODM chairman, minority leader, and say they are not ODM.
My definition of ODM is that it's a political party established pursuant, first of all, to the Constitution, and secondly, to the Political Parties Act of 2011, and also amended in 2022. And I know what a political party is. So after Mbadi, Wandai, Joho, Oparanya, and Askol, for example, came over to this other side, has ODM stopped being a party? No. It's still a party. Are they members of ODM as per law? No, they are not. Of course, there is that other aspect. Do we have a handshake? No, we don't have a handshake. Raila himself has actually said a lot of times, and for example, I am not yet worth, for example, to even add an extra word on Raila's statements. And Raila said he has extended a little bit of his experts to this other side. Are there Kenyans who actually feel happy that there are people who have actually crossed over to this other side? Yes, there are, and there are very many. So Naibe could be one of those people that do not feel persuaded. But I can tell you that you can actually find people, and there are lots of them, who actually tell you that they are happy that Mbadi is on board, that they are happy that Oparanya is on board, they are happy that Joho is on board. If you ask the women of Turkana, they will tell you they are happy because Askol is on board. There are quite a number of Kenyans who feel that is a good flair that comes in. So decisions in the public domain might never be as popular as ice cream would be. Even sometimes when you've got a cold, you might not love ice cream. So there's nothing that can taste sweet for all of us. On the day it does, probably we'll all be dead. We might not be alive. But so long as we are living and we've got preferences and we've got our mental faculties in place, we might never agree. But I see the most important thing that makes this particular conversation and makes governance important, that makes a republic, is having different viewpoints. The way Naibe puts it and the way I actually would put it on this side. And we don't have to draw daggers at each other. That difference of opinion is what makes democracy, is what makes national conversations important. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Mr. Julius Maranga from Kisii, Tabaka. ODM is full of government. Let our people standing Gen Z. Ndio watetezi wa Kenya. I think still. And
it's important that Gen Z should actually stand up and defend their own country. Okay. This country is theirs. And by the way, millennials and Gen Zs, as a people, as generations, those are going to be the first group of Kenyans to carry the biggest burden of national debt. Mm-hmm. So it's important for them to actually stand up and voice up the way they are doing. The one thing anyone should not tell you out there is that going out to voice your ideas and speaking out, that cannot be criminalized. We should not criminalize that. We should actually encourage that so that then we move away from this notion that some 79-year-old man should be defending a nation when we have got 26-year-olds like Kasmuel, when we have got younger people in 30s, when we have got a lot more people who are more educated, more exposed, sitting out there and waiting on Raila, for example, to actually fight for them. Mm-hmm. So it's good that Gen Zs stand up. It's important. By the way, it's not that there is a vacuum when they actually stand up. That is the constitution we voted for. We gave people the power to go out there, participate in governance, not just at the voting level. This thing we speak about called public participation. Those demonstrations were public participation in governance. People didn't like a few things and they came out and spoke. Were they heard? Yes, they were. Mm-hmm. So it's fair that they be heard. They also allow some of us to be heard. For example, if they actually think they are using Article 37 to go out, they should also understand that they also have got a right under the same law to go out and voice support for what we think is right. So that is the republic. Mm-hmm. And going forward, the new republic that actually was birthed through this particular process is a republic where leaders will not just stay back and think they have got a monopoly on ideas. So even a people in governance, the people of Kenya are co-governors in their own country. Okay. There are no led and the leaders. All of us are co-leading. That is by the Constitution 2010. Never forget. So when you go out to speak out and ensure that the people in leadership do the right thing, you are doing your responsibility. Hili ni taifa letu na kufanya kile ambacho unafanya, including what Naibai is asking and Maranga from Tabaka is actually asking. It is part and parcel of you doing your rightful constitutional duty. Mm-hmm. So you are not doing anyone a favor. this business of thinking that somebody somewhere is supposed to be doing it for us, that Raila, for example, should be there speaking out for other people. The people who should be doing things for you are the people who are in government like we in Kenya Kwanza. You can ask us hard questions. Why haven't? Because you've given us, first of all, the legitimacy, you've given us the votes, and you've given us the power to charge taxes so that then we deliver public goods.
Okay.
So we are the people you put to question. But then asking somebody elsewhere to fight for you, what are you doing? A man in his 70s should not be fighting for 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and even in the military, we are picking 18, 19-year-olds. So 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds should not be there waiting for Raila. That is bad manners.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, hi Maringa, the gentleman seems informed. Why are students being classified by rich parents versus poor parents? We don't have poor students. All students are equal. HELP should give loans to every student. Students are the ones who will bear the burden of repayment, not their parents. For, into brackets, rich parents, let them pay. This is Habib Omar. I think this is in line with the university funding model.
Yes.
And it's a question, even as you answer, on the means testing tool, on how we redefine the population of the beneficiaries of this.
Habib asks a very important question, but can I ask you? Yeah. I will ask him back that what is a bursary? A bursary is an affirmative action, is a social action to intervene where there are deficiencies. Remember, there are two parts to that, to the HELP product. There is a bursary, then there is their loans, right? So the bursary part of it is what we are coming in through for the students. And then the loan is that this is what we think you can actually carry by virtue that you actually are accessing a degree today, right? Now, as a country, can we afford to pay for all the students, for example? No, we cannot afford. We are lagging behind on so many. So we are using the resources we have, and we must come up with a tool to ensure that we spread this thing as equitably as possible. Again, when it comes to resources and access to resources, we can never say that we are all the same. We are not all the same. There are the people who actually have got much better access. Like, for example, let's just look at it this way. George, there's this problem in this country, that you'll find people who pay private school all through.
Yes.
Some of them are paying as much as 500,000 shillings per year, 600,000 shillings per year, 300,000 shillings per year. But when they get to university, all of a sudden they've become poor. Yet there is a student somewhere in a village who literally went to school 100% on bursaries. Their parents did odd jobs and everything else. It will be unfair that a child from Lavington and a child from a village somewhere who's actually going to school on a bursary are treated equally, especially when we have got many of these cases. So for it to be fair, we try to be as equitable as possible. Because let's be fair, and Habib knows this, not all of us are equal when it comes to access to resources.
Okay.
And a lot of these students, we are trying to ensure that we give everybody an equitable opportunity towards accessing quality education. Otherwise, if we were to, we would really love, by the way, to actually make it equal for everybody. But at this particular position, when resources are not sufficient, we go in for equity. If we go for equality, I could, for example, be able to afford to come here, and somebody else might not be able to come here. So what do you do if you want all of us here? You do not subsidize me, but you ensure that you subsidize the other one to come here.
Okay.
It's how we ensure that everybody has got a fair chance at being something in this life.
Okay.
So Habib must just understand that, first of all, as a country, we cannot afford to pay for everyone. And if we cannot afford to pay for everyone else, how do we ensure that the little that we have, we share out in a way that is actually equitable to ensure that everybody, first of all, gets an opportunity, but secondly, there is a big problem we've been trying to actually solve here.
Okay.
Universities have actually accumulated. The last time I checked, I think earlier this year, universities had in excess of 67 billion shillings in debt, because somehow the old model was very much focused on the students and did not really care. So you look at this, somebody who's doing a BA, for example, will access the same facility as a person doing medicine or engineering. You understand that those two courses are different, and the cost of even administering those courses is not equal. But then somehow we actually had left that burden to the universities to devise their own way around it. What did they do in the end? First of all, they lowered the quality of education. Secondly, they put a heavy debt burden on universities. So our universities were collapsing. So how do we ensure that, first of all, we ensure access, and secondly, we also do not compromise on quality and then put universities in the situations they are already in? Is we come up with a model that, first of all, is reflective of market rates. Because we have got a lecturer here who is supposed to be paid the same way he is paid in a private university and a public university. So if we play with the way we were doing it, and I think the last time we had done that review, I think was in 1995, a little bit of we would play around with that and just play around that. And then the numbers of people going to universities has actually swollen. We actually now pivoting into CBC, for example. As we move towards that end, it becomes almost impossible to go the old way. So there were things that we were trying to fix. It's not like somebody is complicating this process just for purposes of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, that system is not perfect. Let's also accept. What I'm saying is, it's not that the system, remember that we are piloting it. It's not perfect, but it will be fine-tuned until it becomes perfect. There are a few places where, however scientific a tool is, it misses out on data. That is quite common.
Hello, Abigail from Embu. What does the government have to say about the untold suffering Kenyans have gone through under the insensitive economic strategies? And I will coin this with, these are people who do not feel very confident in terms of, the questions they ask about, the government that they believed in. Do you think there is that deficit of trust?
Of course, there is a trust deficit. Anytime you step out as a person who speaks for or of government, everything you say, people are using a magnifying glass to look at it, just to look at if there's a tinge of lie, something that looks like a lie. And even if they miss out a lie or an error in it, they will still get angry at the tone in which you speak. So they can get angry at your tone. They can even get angry at the gestures you are making when you speak it. It's a difficult thing to do, but then let's be honest. No one who is political goes out there to come up with an insensitive policy. George, and I want to tell Abigail from Embu that politicians love to be loved. If politicians could steal elsewhere, for example, go to space and steal and bring it here, they will do it to get elected. Everybody in government really wants to be re-elected. Every politician wants to be loved. So no one goes out to come up with what she calls insensitive policies. Even as she says that, against what background are these decisions being made, for example? We have got an economic situation, for example, that we can no longer keep on talking about the previous government, the decisions made in the past. The collectivity of what government is that once you come in, you shoulder whatever decisions were done in the past. So there is the global situation.
Okay.
There's the global situation. Look at the markets across the globe. Things are not good. There's even a fear. There has been recessions in other places. Secondly, look at our national situation. We were expected to default this year. Earlier, that is last year, we were expected to default. We sorted that out. So against that difficult fiscal situation, we've tried to keep Kenya as a going concern.
By the way, what do you have to say about those who have argued that the Kenya Kwanza government is not building on the projects of the past regime?
Unfortunately, there is only one Kenya. And there are no Kibaki projects, there are no Uhuru projects, there are only Kenyan projects because they are funded by the taxpayer. So we cannot come in and, for example, purport to say that we cannot build on that. We have to complete the projects started because, first of all, it's Kenyan money. For example, if you refuse to work on a project that Uhuru Kenyatta, for example, was working on, Uhuru Kenyatta did not create that need. That need was there by virtue of data and situation and circumstance, if you choose to actually look at it that way. And he was responding to a problem, a Kenyan problem, using the strategies and thoughts he had at that particular point. If you find it midway, you complete. That is the rule. So that thinking and story is, I think, misplaced.
Okay.
First of all, we must agree that Kenyan problems do not come with presidential colors.
All right.
If people were going hungry during Kibaki's time, when Uhuru comes in, it doesn't magically just disappear. He has to keep on solving that. Our problems do not have political clothes. They do not have political branding. They even do not have regime, smell, feel, or color. Our problems are our problems. If you want access to education as a young person, it doesn't matter under whose regime that need becomes apparent. It has to be sorted. If you want food, the same way.
We're entering the home stretch. Cornelius has a couple of questions for you. Thank you so much for the show. Questions for our guest. One, why are they eyeing for additional eco-levy tax when reports of KRA indicates increase in tax collection, but there is no employment in public service as a result? Where are these taxes going because you don't actually feel them?
First of all, you are feeling them. If you read, and Cornelius sounds like a guy who's actually because a number of people did not know that the strategies we put in place actually increased some streams of KRA's collections, for example. He is actually quite up to date. But Cornelius, if you keep up with public affairs, current affairs, as you sound in that particular question, you must actually have known that we were expected to have defaulted. So first of all, the first charge on the consolidated account of all we collect, first of all, for example, we are paying debts. And we've actually been paying as much as 7 shillings out of every 10 we collect. And probably to just bring this home, George, you need at least 1.1 trillion shillings to pay salaries in the public service, both at national and county level, 1.1 trillion. You will need around the same for debt. I've spoken about debt, I've spoken about salaries. Then the debt, you will need around the same. You will need 400 billion to actually, at least 435 billion shillings to give it to counties, whether it's the conditional grant or what, 400, and then of course there's that small complicated line around equalization fund, consolidated, whatever that is. You need at least 400 billion shillings put on that. Once you've done that, you need about 7 to 800 billion shillings for development. If you work out that against the revenues we are raising, we are talking about 2.3 trillion shillings. At least at max, we are doing not more than 2.3. Already we are talking about 3.2, I think, from the math I've actually given there. We are upwards of 3 trillion shillings. But here, you actually, the maximum we've collected is 2.3 trillion. So that's where then you get a fiscal deficit. With that particular deficit, then now that's how we end up again borrowing. A lot of times to service this, to complement that, to offer services, and to keep the country running as a going concern. So the eco levy that he asks, I do not want to sound sarcastic, but I will tell this to Cornelius. If Kenyan roads were made with the technology that they could be in place for 1 million years, if we had the technology that actually ensures that potholes are self-sealing, if, for example, our roads were like snakes, they can do away once the top layer gets old, they actually can do away, they shell away and then come up with new. That question would make sense. If, for example, the roads, wherever he comes from, can actually self-tarmac, they realize that this is the 21st century, so the village, the roads in Mumias, in Matungu, where I come from, for example, I realized that, okay, we've been actually maram for a very long time. The farmers here, because they are doing cane, we need a little bit of bitumen, and then the roads can actually do that. It will be much easier. But we need that money because the cost of keeping the roads in the conditions they are has actually gone high. Secondly, we need money to build newer roads. All Kenyans are actually asking for it. It's become difficult. Secondly, there's the proportionality in sharing the burden. That all Kenyans, for example, pay money that actually end up here. But who are the people who, for example, are enjoying that? So when we try to balance that out, I know it's easy to single out a tax proposal, demonize it and run away with it. But then also we need to also explain to people that we have got roads that need maintenance. The cost has gone higher. Keeping these vehicles on the road is actually higher. We actually are also going green. And even as we go green, we also have to balance out. So there's so much to it. But it's just 50 billion shillings we are raising. And that 50 billion shillings is a whole lot of money.
All right. The president said those serving in public service and above 60 years should leave. Was it just a Kawira declaration from the president and nothing happened? Were they not giveaway for recruits of young people? Briefly, in 30 seconds, on that question of 60?
George, I have worked in my life, apart from now the role I'm playing here,
yes,
and the one I played in a neighboring country. I have worked for and with young people most of my adult life. I have been a proponent of the older folk going home so that then younger people can get chances. I still stand by that. When the president made that declaration, he was talking about the mainstream public service where we actually have had people who have not exited and we were holding them on contract. The challenge, and no one is actually saying this boldly, today I'll tell you, that a lot of times now when you actually have gotten into a little bit of statecraft and you understand the reason why we keep some of these people, number one is for institutional memory. Some of them is for purposes of training the younger people that are coming in. Thirdly, we do not have money, sufficient money to pay off a lot of these guys. That's why we've held on a number of guys. I think at some point there were about 60,000 people who had gotten to that level and we were buying time around them. I don't want to say that we are holding them hoping that somehow they can actually be called home before we are required to pay them, but probably that could be a strategy. I don't want to be quoted out of context, but I will tell you, the cost of laying away some of these people could actually be more expensive than buying time, so that then the young people will actually eventually come in at some point. Unfortunately, no one argues against age and wins. Somehow age wins against all of us. Time beats all of us. So there's going to be worked around that. The president is working around that. So if we are having a problem with a few people appointed at the cabinet level, I think we didn't get the president's declaration properly. The president was speaking about the mainstream civil service, where we still have got a number of people. And the last time I checked, I do not know the numbers of now, and I can't speak for PSC, but the last time I checked, there was a time, I think early last year, where there was a number floating around of about 60,000. But already people in the system, there are people to actually replace them. So I think retirement money, and it's actually expensive, it's not easy. It's not just like telling somebody, just show. People have dedicated their lifetime serving the republic.
Pensions have to come as well.
The pensions actually have to come in. It's expensive.
Let's wind up with this last question. Why is that the government is just only focused on doctors and teachers' employment as only people on contracts? Don't they think there are many young people in different sectors who are also contractless and they are not heard? The government needs to wake up and go to the ordinary person and not listen to the big boys alone. President has forgotten the ordinary person that he climbed through to the top. Cornelius winds up.
Cornelius, I think, I don't know whether that's his second or third question.
Yeah, third question.
First of all, I would actually support him. This country does not belong to doctors and teachers alone. But unfortunately, teachers are the biggest number of civil servants. If I talk about public officers, TSC has got the biggest number of that. Just because, again, education is government's biggest expenditure, above
700 billion.
700 billion, that's about 0.7 trillion. So definitely, because a lot of what we are doing, we are providing free education, for example. We must have personnel to do that particular bit. So it's not that government is focusing on teachers alone, but government focuses on education, and it is important. Secondly, doctors provide a very important and integral service. At some point, for example, we had, I think, just about 7,000. Over time, with the new administration, we've actually brought in, I think, over 20,000 more. I don't have the numbers exactly, but then we've actually expanded. The service they offer is actually good. But then I want to tell Cornelius this. Can we also get over this idea that government is a provider of jobs? And actually get to the reality that governments should be small and lean and should be enablers. The reason why government provides some public goods, especially the limited ones where no one else has got the capacity. For example, who out there has got the capacity to offer affordable education to the people, to the children of Kenya? No one can do that except for government. So at the moment, when we are still at this particular level, government has to shoulder that burden. But perish the thought that government exists for purposes of employing people. We have done that mistake in the counties, and that is why some counties have become so difficult to run, because governors come in and the only thing they think about, they've turned counties into employment bureaus. A government should be an enabler so that then the private sector can actually rise, be able to perform and employ people.
And the Kenyan people will be still holding you to account to see that if this Kenya Kwanza government is going to be an enabler of all these things that you talk about.
Yes, that is what we are doing, and we've ensured that even where they propose changes, we are flexible enough. The president is listening, the government is listening. What I would actually say is that can we make this collaborative and not controversial? It should not be about us against each other. There's too much combating about it. When you speak, we hear you. Also give us a hearing. And the administration of public service, the administration of public management is no walk in the park. Allow me to finish on a very light note. That long time ago, the Lord God, I'm a Christian, so I'll use that example without offending any other person who might be believing in any other faith. But long time ago, the Bible says that God would actually pass by in the evening to do oversight, check on the creatures he actually had left in the Garden of Eden. But at some point, he chose to allow us to actually rule ourselves, and he gave us stewardship. So politics is not easy. Governance is not easy. If it were easy, there would be no country struggling today. And there is no single country without challenges. That means that this business is difficult. That is why we value your ideas, we value your thoughts, we value your questions. Just ask us. We are not fighting. We are having a conversation.
All right.
Yeah.
Indeed, and that's why we end up the Daily Report tonight. We've been speaking to Arnold Maliba, Head of Policy and Public Affairs in UDA Party. My name is George Maringa. Thank you so much for watching and staying with us. As always, stay safe and be kind to one another. The conversation continues online. Good night.